A few weeks before Halloween, a Reddit user noticed a flyer stapled to a telephone pole. It didn't have a map or a phone number, only an email address and a challenge. The most terrifying thing you will ever experience. Do you dare? Millions of people actively seek out this brand of horror on subreddits like r/nosleep. We consume these stories because the fear is consensual. The adrenaline comes with the unspoken guarantee that the unknown is confined to the screen. But the entertainment value evaporates when the unknown stops being a story and starts being a physical reality. When a door in your own hallway creaks open in the middle of the night, the safety of the browser tab disappears. The true damage of a real paranormal encounter is social isolation. Because modern society largely mocks the inexplicable, those who witness it are often left entirely alone to process what they saw. Carrying an impossible secret in a world that demands logic creates a specific kind of psychological erosion. It breeds chronic anxiety and eventually a fracture in your own sense of reality. Human minds cannot tolerate a vacuum of information. To preserve our sanity in the face of the impossible, we are forced to find an explanation, often by seeking out a collective that can validate what we experienced. In 2009, a group of soldiers at Fort Washuka decided to test their own skepticism. These weren't easily rattled teenagers. They were military personnel with high ASVAB scores and a training background rooted in rigorous logic. Bored and looking for a distraction, they drove 40 minutes to Tombstone, Arizona, a town famous for the 1881 shootout at the OK Corral, to conduct a makeshift ghost hunt. Sitting in a parked SUV, they attempted to mindfuck whatever might be listening. They used military SOPs to plan their entry and exit, and asked complex questions designed to catch a prankster or an entity in a logical contradiction. Their control variables shattered when the environment reacted physically. The board spelled out a soldier's private name, a heavy center console slammed shut on its own, and the SUV's dome lights violently flickered without a clear electrical cause. The soldiers fled. Reeling from the event, the author posted the story to Reddit, specifically asking for someone to apply Occam's razor, the principle that the simplest explanation is usually the right one, to convince him he was simply experiencing mass hysteria. Even a hyper-logical mind breaks when the physical world stops making sense. At that point, the internet becomes the only tool capable of crowdsourcing a repair for a ruined reality. For some, the search for an answer isn't about a single night of panic, but about addressing the psychological weight of a childhood spent in a house that felt alive. On the subreddit r/ghosts, users share visceral memories of heavy blankets being dragged off their beds by unseen hands, or the smell of cigarettes in rooms where no one had smoked for years. Most of these users grew up with parents who dismissed their terror. Decades later, they aren't looking for ghost stories. They are looking for confirmation that their childhood anxiety was a rational response to a real event. When a person tarries an impossible memory that no one around them believes, they exist in a state of total isolation. Finding another person with the same story collapses the distance, turning an isolating secret into a shared, survivable history. Proving the supernatural is secondary. The true goal of these digital communities is proving that a trauma was shared, because a shared burden is much easier to carry. The same persistent need for an answer drives the internet's most obsessive non-paranormal searches, the hunt for names and faces that have slipped through the cracks of history. For nearly 20 years, the internet's ultimate cold case was The Mysterious Song. It was a track taped off a German radio station in the 80s that seemed to belong to no one, effectively acting as a ghost on the airwaves. A massive community of searchers spent hundreds of hours analyzing synthesizer models and scouring radio archives from the former West Germany, desperate to give the recording a name. In November 2024, a user named Maureen finally linked the song to an obscure band called Fex. After nearly 2 decades of searching, the song finally had an identity: Subways of Your Mind. The reaction to this discovery was overwhelming. Users who had never met the band members described feeling a massive weight lifted, with many reporting that they actually started crying when the mystery finally ended. This relief isn't about the music, it's about the resolution of the unknown. The internet has become a digital campfire, a space large enough to gather the isolated and shine a collective light on the shadows, proving that no matter how strange the experience, we no longer have to face it alone.